So no more are we avoiding carbohydrates. This video will focus on the power of mastering carbohydrates for optimal health. Welcome to HPHY, Healthy Practices, Healthier You. As we explore carbohydrates, understanding portions and what an actual serving looks like can be life and health changing. So carbohydrates have been recently misunderstood in these United States, or maybe saying something is misunderstood is mild, vilified is more like it in some corners where some people have decided that for them, a life of no carbohydrates is the healthiest way forward. And I am saying that we don't need to be that severe in cutting out an entire macronutrient from our diet, not just because it's unsustainable, which it is, but because long term it will not result in optimal health. And yes, while they are essential for energy, the way you consume carbohydrates makes all the difference. So the timing, the pairing, the portion, the proportion, and the type of carbohydrates, and so much more can impact everything from your blood sugar to your energy levels. But of course, carbohydrates do not exist in isolation. In this video, we'll dive into the science of carbohydrates and its interaction with protein, fiber, and healthy fats, even though fiber is part of carbs. But we'll explore how these nutrients work together to create a balanced, healthy diet that optimizes our health and our way of life and improves the quality of our lives. So we know that carbohydrates are the foundation of energy, and they matter because they are our body's primary energy source. They fuel our brain, muscles, organs. But of course, not all carbohydrates are created equal. Complex carbohydrates like whole grains and vegetables release glucose slowly, while simple carbohydrates like sugars and refined grains can cause sharp spikes and drops in blood sugar. So carbohydrates is the preferred premium fuel for our brain. And the brain, although it makes up only about 2 to 3% of our body weight, uses about 120 to 130 grams of glucose per day. This is about 420 to 520 calories, which is for if you're considering a 2,000 calorie daily intake. But this is about 20% of your daily energy needs. You have to think of just how energetically expensive this organ is. This is our most important organ, where you're 2% of the body, but requiring 20% of its energy needs and the fuel. And the brain prefers glucose because it's the most efficient fuel and provides quick energy that the brain needs to maintain critical functions like thinking and memory, learning. And unlike other organs, the brain cannot easily use fat for energy because it lacks the enzymes required to break down fatty acids. So glucose can cross the blood-brain barrier and fuel the neurons more efficiently than other sources. So what happens when energy comes from fat and protein? Well, in low carbohydrate conditions, like during a fast or a ketogenic diet, the body converts fat into ketones. And the brain can use ketones as an alternative fuel source, but it's just not as efficient as glucose. And this can lead to slower cognitive function and mental fatigue. And if neither carbohydrates nor fat are available, the body will break down muscle protein to make glucose through gluconeogenesis. This process is very, very energy inefficient and can lead to muscle loss over time. And we've talked about almost like muscle as this kind of investment in our health, short term and long term, and it's healthy for so many reasons. And we talked about this in an inflammation video and cortisol video and especially the metabolism video. So this makes that less ideal for maintaining both cognitive and physical performance. So we also recognize that the protein is more than just muscle building. It has a greater role than that. It's often associated with muscle building, but it does so much more than that. It's made up of amino acids, which are the building blocks of tissues, enzymes, hormones, and immune cells. An adequate protein intake is absolutely crucial for muscle repair, for our immune function, and to maintain healthy metabolism, like we mentioned. And so when you eat protein alongside carbohydrates, that slows the digestion of carbohydrates, leading to a more gradual release of glucose into the bloodstream. This helps prevent blood sugar spikes and keeps us feeling fuller longer. So pairing a whole grain toast with eggs or having chicken with a quinoa salad helps balance the glycemic response and provides sustained energy. So why does fiber and healthy fats matter with carbohydrates? Though fiber is part of carbohydrates, but a lot of times when people think about carbohydrates, they think about starchy carbohydrates and refined fiber, but fiber is inclusive and part of carbohydrates. So fiber, is this type of carbohydrates that our bodies cannot digest, and it plays this crucial role in slowing down the absorption of glucose. That means more stable blood sugar levels and sustained energy. Fiber also supports digestive health by feeding our beneficial gut bacteria, improving bowel regularity, and supporting weight management by making you just feel fuller longer. So there are many types of fibers. The key ones that we discussed, it's like soluble fiber, dissolves in water and slows digestion, helps to control blood sugar levels. And so we have foods like oats and legumes and fruits like apples and citrus are rich in soluble fiber. And then we have insoluble fiber, which adds bulk. I call it the sweeper, like a broom. Adds bulk to our stool and aids in regular bowel movement. And this can be found in a lot of whole grains and nuts and vegetables. So healthy fats are important to pair with carbohydrates because they're the stabilizer. Pairing carbs with healthy fats just also slows digestion even further, providing a steady release of glucose into the bloodstream. This helps prevent rapid blood sugar spikes. And so healthy fats like those in avocados and nuts, seeds, and olive oil also promote heart health, reducing inflammation, and supporting our brain function. Another very powerful tool in enjoying carbohydrates in a way that supports optimal health is pairing it with acidic foods. So when you have acidic foods like vinegar, lemon juice, or fermented probiotics, and the mechanism of vinegar and lemon juice they're both acidic, which affects carbohydrate digestion and absorption in a beneficial way. The primary mechanism is related to how these acids slow the breakdown of carbohydrates into glucose, which results in a slower and steadier release of sugar into the bloodstream. So with vinegar, you have acetic acid, which is the key compound and has been shown, a lot of studies shown to improve insulin sensitivity, which allows our cells to just better absorb glucose. It also slows the digestion of starches, so it reduces the post-meal glucose spike. We also use lemon juice, which, similarly to vinegar, the citric acid in the lemon juice delays gastric emptying, which means that our food stays in our stomach longer, giving the body more time to gradually absorb the carbohydrates. Because you see, the issue is always when, there's an influx of glucose and the body absorbs it a bit too rapidly, and then it's just too much. And so what we want to do is just delay and slowly slow the absorption and slow the emptying so that our body takes up the glucose in a gradual way that prevents us from suffering through these glucose spikes. But this results in just more controlled rise in blood sugar. And so adding a splash of vinegar to rice or a salad dressing with lemon juice can help slow the absorption of carbohydrates, improve blood sugar control after a meal, and just in general we'll just feel better and less of just this spike and then the crash that follows that. So when you think about another addition of these fermented food of these foods that can make a difference in slowing gastric emptying, you think about fermented probiotics and for gut health, like foods like yogurt and sauerkraut and kimchi, very rich in probiotics, which are also hugely beneficial bacteria that support gut health. And probiotics help regulate how carbohydrates are absorbed and metabolized in the gut by just improving the balance of gut microbiota, which is like the community of microbes that live in our digestive system. So when we also think about the gut's role in carbohydrate absorption, a healthy gut microbiota can improve the way our body processes and absorbs carbohydrate. So probiotics aid in just breaking down complex carbohydrates and fibers that our bodies cannot digest on their own, resulting in better nutrient absorption and a steadier release of glucose into the bloodstream. Additionally, probiotics can reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity, which helps the body manage blood sugar levels more effectively. So if we have including just fermented foods like kimchi or a serving of yogurt with a carbohydrate-based meal, can not only promote healthy digestion but also improves how our body processes the carbohydrates, leading to a more balanced blood sugar levels, which makes all the difference in how our moods, how we feel, and in our energy levels, and just our overall health, and just so much more. So let's talk about practical takeaways. How do you optimize carbohydrate consumption? Well, pair with protein. So combining carbohydrates with protein ensures a more controlled release of energy and helps the muscle repair and overall metabolic health. So balance of these nutrients can prevent also overeating and just support weight management. Add in some lean protein like grilled chicken or tofu or fish to your carbohydrate-based meals, such as a salad with quinoa, to just create this balanced plate that fuels your body effectively. Obviously, we'll also need to pair carbohydrate with itself. So high fiber carbohydrates. So using fiber-rich foods with starchy carbohydrates can create a slower, more stable digestion process. So add in beans, which is just very rich in soluble fiber, to a rice dish or a whole grain bread or a sweet potato toast, can prevent these rapid glucose spikes. So we just have something like a bowl of oatmeal topped with chia seeds and berries or a dragon fruit, which is like just this fiber-packed meal that provides sustained energy without the blood sugar crash. I mean, you'll be able to really feel the difference. That mid-afternoon or mid-morning or whenever your first slump happens, that may make the difference in just the way that you consume carbohydrates. Another just technique is eating starch after retrogradation. So retrogradation is a process that occurs when we cook starches such as like rice and potatoes and pasta and cool them after cooking. And so during the cooling, the starch molecules realign and form this more crystalline structure, which increases the amount of resistant starch. And resistant starch is a type of carbohydrate that acts similarly to dietary fiber. So resistant digestion in the small intestine and reaching the large intestine relatively intact. So consuming starches after retrogradation slows down the digestion process, leading to a lower glycemic response and a more gradual release of glucose into the bloodstream. So studies have shown that retrograded starch can improve insulin sensitivity and support gut health by feeding beneficial bacteria in the colon. So reheating these retrograded starches does not eliminate their benefits. It makes them an excellent option to just manage blood sugar levels and promote overall metabolic health. So, cook your rice, cook your potatoes, cool it, maybe freeze it even, and then reheat it. Maybe I would cool it again. And then just have some of it, just like, I guess, the way that we do with sushi rice, or, sometimes I kind of just cook it, freeze it, cook it again, but not cook it, I crisp it up, like I make crispy rice, and then I kind of cool it and toss that over maybe some sort of salad bowl that I'm having, or chickpeas or beans or something that I'm having. That's one way you can just incorporate it into your diet, enjoy it, but use it in the best way to slow these potential spikes in your system, because there's no need to eliminate things like rice and potatoes from your life if you've ever enjoyed them. If you haven't, then no problem. But one other trick and tip and technique is to cook rice al dente. So cooking rice al dente, much like like risotto or firmer styles of rice, increases the amount of resistant starch in the grains. So resistant starch, we talked about, it's a type of carbohydrate that resists digestion. So it's functioning like fiber. And this slower digestion process forces the stomach and intestines to work harder and take more time to break down the rice, resulting in a steadier release of glucose into the bloodstream. And often the rices that we tend to cook al dente tend to naturally have less starch than the other ones that are the other stickier rices. But this can help reduce rapid blood sugar spikes commonly associated with fully cooked softer rice. So imagine you cook it al dente, plus then you freeze it, and then you use it again. So this can help reduce a rapid blood spikes commonly associated with fully cooked softer rice, yes, but it also can just allow you to consistently have it in your daily meals or your meals, if that is something that you do enjoy, in a way that it supports your health. Obviously, in what we talked about earlier, in smaller portions. Scientific studies have shown that resistant starch, we talked about this as well, improves insulin sensitivity, supports gut health by promoting beneficial bacteria in the colon. So eating the rice cooked al dente can provide just a more sustained energy release, acting somewhat, not exactly, but somewhat like a complex carbohydrate in its effect in digestion, but only subtly, not as strongly as actual fiber itself or like complex carb itself. It's still rice. It's just it won't be this being cooked al dente and maybe frozen and then thawed out and reheated to be eaten. It's not gonna be like fiber. It's not gonna have the same potency as fiber, but it definitely will not be as starchy as it would if it were just the softer rice. So it's just a subtle difference, but all of these add up, especially if it's something that you're eating constantly and eating it every day. So when you can also pair carbohydrates with healthy fats. We talked about this, where it's just digested more slowly. So adding an avocado to a sandwich with a whole grain bread or drizzling olive oil and sweet potato can provide some steady energy. And I would also add maybe a bit of lean protein to that to promote that and fullness, because the protein also promotes satiation, as does the fats as well. So it will make you just feel quite satisfied and maybe adjust and prevent excessive cravings if you have something that makes you feel full and satisfied, like you've had something that you enjoyed. So avocado sandwich with some kind of protein and a whole grain bread could be a really perfect balance. Mashed avocado or a poached egg is also a perfect combination of fiber, fats, protein, and carbohydrates, creating just a balanced meal that fuels your morning or your afternoon or maybe your entire day, depending on how hungry you are and what else you've eaten. So the order matters. Another thing that matters is that the order in which we eat our food, it matters. So eating protein, fiber, or fats before carbohydrates also slows the absorption of glucose. So this technique helps minimize post-meal glucose spikes. And studies have shown that starting with vegetables or a protein and finishing the carbohydrates can lower the glycemic response by 30 to 40%, which is pretty significant. It's quite incredible. So when we're eating a meal with rice, fish, and vegetables, we're encouraged to try starting with the fish and vegetables first and then incorporate the rice at latter stages. This small change can make a big difference in how your body processes the meals. So the best carbohydrates to focus on, we talked about the whole grains, the brown rice, quinoa. This is if you eat a lot of this stuff, because who knows what's your particular diet needs to entail. But oats, barley, quinoa, they're packed with fiber and a lot of nutrients. When you have starchy vegetables, you want to focus on sweet potatoes, squashes, and beets. They provide slow burning energy and are rich in antioxidants. When we think about other complex carbohydrates like legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas, high in fiber and protein, making them excellent for balanced meals. And of course, fruits, berries, apples, and pears tend to have the lower glycemic index than tropical fruits like bananas or mangoes or pineapple. So we want to also think about the carbohydrates to minimize. I think I talk about this every single video, so I apologize. But Same things, the refined carbohydrates, sugar sweetened beverages, white bread, pastries, sugar cereals, processed snacks can all lead to quick glucose spikes and crashes, increase in cravings and hunger. So why is a balanced diet foundational? So one that includes carbohydrates, protein, fiber, and healthy fats is absolutely key to overall health. When you combine these macronutrients, you support stable blood sugar levels, sustained energy, and better digestion. And this balance also ensures that your body gets the variety of nutrients it needs for muscle repair, for immune function, and long-term disease prevention. So when you think of a balanced plate, you think of a portion of grilled salmon where you have, great protein and healthy fat, or, some kind of or chicken, or with rice and potatoes and a side of leafy greens for the fiber. It creates a meal that provides a complete profile of essential nutrients, depending on the leafy greens and the quality of the rice, the potatoes. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, but at least you're working toward a balanced meal that will make you feel full and satiated, and perhaps reduce cravings and hunger. So one of the things that we have talked about is just the timing and the volume, when and how much of carbohydrates we eat. So portion control, eating large amounts of carbohydrates at once, especially those high in refined sugars, can cause blood spikes and crashes. So instead of doing that, you focus on moderate portions spread throughout the day. Well, and it kind of depends. It depends on your activities and what you're doing. But that's why it's always really good to just have an established baseline initial meeting with a nutritionist, a dietitian, just to understand your current goals and the most efficient way for you to be consuming your meals, and how that makes sense to you, and what's healthiest for your system and the things that you want to achieve and to maintain optimal health. So an establishment of that can work, and then you guys can decide upon how often to have meals, because there are also schools of thought that really go well with time restricted eating, time restricted feeding, where we restrict the time that we're consuming foods. And so it depends. It's also about observing your own body, understand what your body likes and what it needs, and that evolves and changes throughout different times. And so it's about really establishing that initial relationship with your professionals, so that they can just help you understand the baseline of what that means for you, and then you start monitoring and observing it. One of the things that we also want to do is just to weigh our food, so we can start understanding the weights and the sizes of different ingredients. So eventually we'll be able to eyeball and look at something and say, oh, I think that's about 3.5 ounces of XYZ. And I know that's 3.5 ounces of pork or salmon or fish or some other fish or tuna, whatever, and that's what we're consuming that day. And so we understand it in the overall scheme of our daily meals. Weighing our foods can sometimes be quite shocking when you see what a portion or a serving actually looks like. So instead of having that whole bag of chips, you see that there are 7 servings in that medium looking bag, and you may have just casually snacked on it without recognizing it. So I think one of the things that can be really helpful in enjoyably keeping or incorporating carbohydrates into your diet is just being mindful of what a serving is. Because sometimes the amounts that we eat just far surpass what the serving sizes are. So I think becoming familiar with that can make all the difference, because we eat with our eyes, and just understanding what one serving is can be life and health changing. And so instead of having this large pasta meal, trying smaller portions of whole grain pasta, gluten-free pasta with lots of vegetables, some lean protein, and a healthy fat like olives, olive oil, or avocado, can just be just as delicious, where you don't have to banish carbohydrates from your diet. So the timing when you eat carbohydrate matters. So eating complex carbohydrates earlier in the day supports energy levels, while a lower carbohydrate meal in the evening can help with better sleep and weight management. So we have something like a breakfast of oatmeal and fruits provides sustained energy for the day, while a lighter dinner with more vegetables and lean protein can promote restful sleep. So overall, we just want a balanced approach to carbohydrates and overall health. We do not want to eliminate it unless you have to for a specific tailored reason under the guidance of a professional. Unless it's under the guidance of a professional, a qualified professional, then we don't have to remove it in this quest for great health. We can still incorporate it, but just trying to figure out what to add and what to remove to make it part of just a healthy diet. So the key to managing carbohydrates isn't about the elimination, it's about understanding how to pair them with other nutrients, manage portion size, perhaps add the acids that may slow digestion and prevent, glucose spikes by incorporating fiber, protein, and healthy fats to your meal, and just being mindful of the type of carbohydrates you eat by the proportion. You can optimize your energy levels, you can improve your digestion, and you can enjoyably support long-term consumption of carbohydrates. So please subscribe, like, share if you find this valuable, and ask any questions. We're very excited, very open to answering any questions in great detail or in any way that you like. Have a great day. Thank you for listening.